What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Cheyenne. Welcome to Iblis Manifestations. I am coming to you now from Luxor, Egypt, also known as Thebes, the ancient capital of Egypt. And behind me right there, we've got the Luxor temple. So I just wanted to give you a quick report on the trip that we have had. This has been truly one of the most sensational, eye-opening experiences that I've had in the recent years. And I didn't actually anticipate how much we were going to see on this one single trip. So we did a cruise on the River Nile. We went from Luxor to Edfu, and then we went further down to Aswan, and then made our way back. And we also had a great tour guide with us, Mahmud, who I will be conducting an interview with very shortly, which will be coming up on this video. But before I get into that, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the experience. So ancient Egypt, as everyone knows, it is one of the perhaps most important pieces of history that we know about human civilization and also the ancient religions that we had here. One thing in particular that caught my attention, which I'm sure those of you who are followers of the channel may also find interesting, is how much of their ancient tradition and religions were surrounded by the concept and the idea of death, to the point that most of the temples are essentially designed for the pharaohs to revisit after they have passed away, to essentially remember the memories of what their life in Egypt, or what life in Egypt was essentially like, and to the point that you've got all the different stories of things through the hieroglyphs, but also even at the ceiling of all of the temples, you've got the stars. And some of these colors are still preserved today as well. That's one of the most impressive things, is just the ginormous structures that you have here, and all of the different structures and the paintings and the different meaning behind each one of them. It is truly a surreal experience. And actually, I was speaking to my friend Paul Riedel about this just a few days ago. One of the things that's very interesting is that even with the hieroglyphs, now there's the specific academic meaning of some of these symbols, but personally I feel like there's an element of subconscious interaction with that symbolism, which of course we know that is kind of like the occult and spirituality 101, is the interaction of symbolism and sigils with the subconscious, okay, and how much of that we're actually exposed to on a day-to-day basis without necessarily realizing it, okay, and then there are those who actually use these tools, particularly in the context of black and death metal, but don't necessarily know what it is that they're using. They just know maybe it has some kind of a meaning. But nevertheless, the point being that I've found it absolutely extraordinary that you have that much attention to detail, that much effort, and that much level of commitment purely for an interaction with the dead. I find that absolutely fascinating, okay? And I know that's not the whole picture, but it's a big part of it, you know? So I even mentioned during the interview with the tour guide, Mahmud, which will be coming shortly, that there were essentially these false doors that they would build next to where the mummies were buried. And then these false doors and the shape of them and the structure, the way they were carved out of the rocks, were essentially there to guide the spirit into the afterlife. Once again, there's a lot of very interesting things here. Amongst one of the disturbing pieces of the history here is some of the defacing of the sculptures that you may see, and some of the faces were chiseled, and a lot of this was done by the early Egyptian Christians, who were, of course, that was the influence of the Roman Christians who came over, and then basically they were building their own churches. And to its own right, that has been a very fascinating thing to see for itself, but it's very strangely reminiscent of perhaps some of the attacks that you've seen from ISIS and some of these terrorists that have essentially been destroying some of these ancient temples. And it's a truly tragic part of human nature, I find. But also there's another part of me that likes to kind of think a little bit deeper about these things, and I wonder, if you are an outsider and you enter a land what sort of effects you will have on your dreams. As someone who has had similar interactions, and as someone who has at least somewhat of an understanding of the way the dead, or rather the spirits, can interact with the living, the dream is usually a place where that can bleed through. So one recurring questions that I've had is, why did they feel such a necessity to destroy some of these spirits? On one hand, you can say that because it illegitimizes their religion. On the other hand, my personal take on it is, so one thing that they were doing is that they were essentially having to destroy the face of some of these carvings and the faces, because they had to stop them from breathing. That's what they had to do. And that begs the question, were they haunted by the spirits of the land once they invaded the place? Were they tormented in their dreams by these things that were already here, pre-existing? So there's a lot of questions there for me personally, as someone who is interested in the esoteric and the relationship with the spiritual realm, which in the modern world we put it down to belief. We put it down to, it's an optional thing if you want to believe in such things or not, you know. And I do believe that a healthy discourse around the topic is necessary, but what a healthy discourse isn't is dismissal. That's where we go wrong. We need to have healthy conversations about these things, and that's one of my main efforts through the Iblis Manifestations podcast, is to have these conversations with people who at least have a little bit of a different perspective from the mainstream, where you've got a very specific and very rigid and also highly capitalized version of science. So, anyway, with that said, that's my own personal take, and again, I want to clarify that these are mainly personal takes from me, and these are things that I am personally curious about, and they may not necessarily represent, for example, what the tour guides or the academics or the archaeologists in Egypt have to offer, but these are the thoughts that I've personally had. So I like to clarify that there, you know, and by all means, if anyone wants to challenge that, go for it. Feel free to question what I'm saying, but as someone who's had experiences that challenge our understanding of day-to-day life in a spiritual and in a metaphysical context, I feel it's important to point that out. Anyway, without further ado, the upcoming will be a short interview that I conducted with our tour guide Mahmud, and he had a lot of very interesting things to share. And you have to understand, Mahmud is someone who has been working as an excavator since 2002. He's even worked with people like Zai Hawass. I'm sure some of you might have seen him on the Joe Rogan podcast at some point recently. I won't get into the details there, but nevertheless, Mahmud is a very highly credited academic, as well as an excavator, and he's also a tremendous tour guide as well. So I thought it would be such a shame to do the report on this trip on my own without the input of an expert like him. So I hope you'll enjoy that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at Luxor in Egypt, and we've got the magnificent River Nile right behind us. This is where it all happened, and I'm here with the great gentleman who was our tour guide for the entire trip that we were here. If you'd like to come a little bit closer, and sir, if you don't mind, just introducing yourself, please.
Okay, it was a pleasure. Okay, so my name is Mahmud. I'm a tour guide and Egyptologist and archaeologist. I'm graduated from Cairo University for Egyptology, 2001, and then after that I studied again in Alexandria in the tourism faculty there, and I graduated from there, and I worked for excavation and the guiding from 2002 until today. So I work here for excavation here, even that in the east bank of the Nile. We have two banks here in Luxor. We have East Bank and we have the West Bank. With the East Bank, together. And the other side, in front of us, this is the west bank of the Nile. So we have the mountain there. I have the tombs there, the valley of the kings, valley of the workers, artisans, valley for the queens, valley for the nobles, for the high priest and the prime minister and the senior official that at the time. So I work for excavation there. Actually, I work in the valley of the kings in tombs with my colleagues there. So we work together in tomb number 63. This is actually, we found it with the American mission from Memphis University with Dr. Otto Shadden. We found this one saving coffin there with some economic jars over there beside this one. This one used like storage rooms over there. So the priests, they collected the mummies from the other tombs later after the New Kingdom. So after the 10th century BC, and then they collected them again and they buried them again inside other tombs. It's one of them, number 63. It was more exciting for me when they found that this tomb was my colleagues for that. And they work again inside other tombs inside the King's Valley, but we clean it and take the sand out to find that something there. So and then change, and they work there from after the revolution, the Arab Spring, after 2011, I worked there in the nobles' tombs, and we found many tombs with my colleagues over there. The last one I found it a couple of years ago with the Egyptian mission. So we found this one for the nobles. We found this is Stalin before and the Army before. So because this is actually, it was under the remain of the houses. So the village and the houses over there, we destroyed that from 2006 until today. We found more of 70 tombs. So we found there inside this tomb, so the sarcophagus with the mummy, but we found the mummy destroyed there because this was all been before. So the people, they made the tunnels between the house and the tombs into the mountain over there. And then actually they robbed most of the stuff there for the noble there inside this tomb. But they found the carvings still were preserved.
Right.
Over there, and this is give the daily life that at the time, especially by the king Thutmose III. So he dated back to 14th century BC. We found two tombs there, and then we found other tombs actually from 2000, because after the Arab Spring, so from 2014 until COVID, I found many tombs there in the nobles area over there. So and then, so during this time, I worked there in Karnak Temple and the Luxor Temple for excavation. Especially in Karnak Temple, 2007 until 2009, when we found the dock, the night dock of the temple. This one, it was very interesting for us because before their group, before they worked there close to the Nile to find the night dock over there, but we never found it until we destroyed the houses there 2006, and in 2007 we started the excavation there and we found the dock of the temple there. It was very interesting because when used at the time to bring the stone for different quarries to build the temples. And they use this Orbit Festival to move from Karnak to Luxor Temple always every year.
Which is insane, by the way. Like, if you see the structures in person, it's almost hard to believe. Like, how on earth were they able to move all of that, especially from such far distances? Like, for example, the unfinished obelisk that we saw a few days ago as well. Right. It's crazy.
That's right. This is crazy work. But it's what that's representing the Egyptian hands, the Egyptian workers. They did that, right? So,
are you saying it wasn't aliens?
Some people, they believe that actually about the alien. They did that. They cut the obelisk and they built the buildings and temples and pyramids. But we found actually, especially inside the nobles too, had a master for the nobles. We found the daily life scenes over there. For each one, he covered his biography, what he worked there before. So we found when they built the temples, when they cut the stone to build it. They found when they made the statues over there. So standing statues, seated statues, sphinx statues, royal statues, other ones statues. So many of statues there inside workshops there with different stone over there. We found the daily scenes there inside the nobles' tombs, the barber when they cut the hair of the clients there. So hunting, fishing in the Nile and hunting in the desert with the wild animals at the time. When they made a beer, when they made the wine, so the grapes, actually they make up the grape from the gardens, and they made that actually by themselves over there. Yeah. So the daily life scenes actually they get the taxes from the people that at the time, and they get the tribute. So from the different tribes over there in Asia and Africa, and they have to the prime minister to receive everything, and they keep them to the royal palace of the king. This one actually found the daily life scenes inside the nobles' tombs. So like the unfinished obelisk, this one the only one still unfinished, still exists. There's an Aswan, it's the famous quarry of granite stone. This one actually gave us the more infinite knowledge about how they use at the time to cut the obelisk. The obelisk is hard stone, that's a granite. So more 300 tons, 29 meters. This one in Aswan is about 33 meters, this abnormal one. It belongs to the Queen Hatshepsut. So they use a chisel from diorite stone. This is harder than granite. They use chisel to cut it, but they found it still stuck in the bottom. And then they made a holes around it. Inside the hole, they put a piece of wood from sycamore tree, and they put the water to make it expand, and then it cracks from the rock. Or sometimes they burn a fire to get the heat, and then after they put the cold water, heat on the cold, and then crack from the rock. And they cover the inscription, and they wait until the flood comes, the water in the summer, and then they transfer it from Aswan to everywhere in Egypt. And then I explain today how they erected up inside the temple. So by their hands, use the brain and the hand, just said, to do it. They put the base of the obelisk as a separate, and they built enclosure wall around it, about 10-15 meters high, and the further space was sand. And then they put the ramp, the mud bricks ramp, like same as used that at the time, to build the buildings, and then get the stone up, the obelisk up over there, they build it with the oxen, with any animals, with the rocks. And then after that, they made the holes for the four corners and take the sand out, and then step by step, so they raise up in top, and then until stand up, the obelisk. Yes,
absolutely.
Sir. So how long they spent, Hatshepsut mentioned that inside her temple, in the west bank of Luxor, she sent a mission to Aswan to cut the obelisk for her father. According to her propaganda, her divine birth, spent only 7 months.
So they spent 7 months to cut around the obelisk, which is like, so they didn't assemble it, but rather carved it out of the rocks.
That's
and it's
right.
Obviously, it's quite a large space as well.
That's right.
So in 7 months, they managed to carve around the sides of it,
That's
and
right.
then there was a crack in the middle, which is the reason why they stopped. And then is that 1800 BC? Am I recalling that correctly?
14th century BC.
14th century. Okay.
Yeah,
Right. I see.
That. And then for the 7 months after they cut it, they carved the inscription in the same quarry there, and the transportation, and then erected up inside the temple, all for 7 months.
That's insane. And there are so many,
so many obelisks. Yeah, we saw there. 11. Yeah, but only today 4 left. So most of the squares today in Europe have obelisk.
Yeah.
In the United States, in London 2, in Istanbul there's 1, in Rome 9 obelisks. So where else? In London 2, and then in the United States, in New York, in the Central Park, we have 1 there.
Absolutely.
So everywhere people see and look into the obelisk, you have to know that this is Egyptian obelisk. This is actually taken from here, from Egypt, in different temples. This was.
So for people who are genuinely interested to find out more about Egypt and the history of it, because I have been taken aback by just the sheer volume of some of the tombs and the temples that you can visit. It's so much more than you actually realize.
That's right.
So what would you say are some of the key points for people who've never been to Egypt to come and check out specifically those spots?
That's right. So please, I wanted to ask to everybody everywhere in the world to come to visit Egypt. So every day we have new excavation. Every day we have new stuff, temples and tombs. We saw that actually in Luxor and Karnak Temple before, still we have restoration, still we have excavation, especially in Karnak Temple. Still, so like you saw that the cache of Luxor Temple, yes, we found it in 1989. We found 24 statues, still very well preserved. We keep them inside Luxor Museum. So we believe that if you're digging everywhere, we find more and more stuff over there. In Karnak Temple, we found a big cache there in 1907, due to the British time. We found more of 18,000 pieces. And then we spent about 4 years until collect them, from 1907 until 1911.
Right.
So everywhere today, everywhere here, in temples and tombs in the mountains, we still discovered a lot of things.
Well, this is the thing. I wanted to mention this actually, because we went to Karnak Temple today, and we've had a whole week of seeing amazing stuff. And I'm still probably one of the most blown away just by Karnak Temple. And as you said, just in the outside area of the temple, there's a large piece of land where they're just excavating new things.
Right.
And there's new collections that are picking up. So like this conception that, we've already seen everything, we've already figured it all out. It's not true. There's still a lot yet to be unseen.
Still, we believe that more than, we found them exit today, we have more than that actually still underground.
Yes.
A lot of stuff. Because if you dig everywhere in Luxor, you find that, more stuff. Especially in the west bank of Luxor. So in the mountain. We dig in there with my colleagues, especially close to the noble tombs, we find tombs. Yeah, stuff. Sarcophagus. So we found too much sarcophagus actually in 2019. So 40 sarcophagus there, over there, for nobles. And they're still digging to find more and more stuff there. So for me, sometimes interesting, not with the stuff, with the jewelry stuff there, but sometimes with the carving on the wall. It's very interesting to me to see that actually what was the time, how they lived at the time, what the daily life that at the time. So because actually most of the carving in temples and the royal tombs, the eternity. In temples, the offering scenes for that. Okay, but something different, like yesterday in Komombo. So we have the surgical instrument list over there. We have the ancient Egyptian calendar. It's covered there, right? We have some little carving there that are alive at the time. But in the nobles, tombs, so daily scenes live that at the time when they lived that at the time. Even that the workers, the body of the workers and artisans, you find the remains of the houses of the workers there. There's the only one still exists in Egypt until today. Because the Egyptians, they never use a stone for the building for the first life. They use the stone for the building for the second life, like tombs, like temples, like pyramids. Right? They use mud bricks for the houses. Mud bricks, just said for that. So we found the remains. We found the remains of the houses there. This one, the oldest compound and community for the people. Where? That's in the west side of the map, over there, for the workers. So other ones here in the east side is gone in a way. Even the kings, royal palaces, all of them is gone. So the workers that live there close to the temples, we found they built in crucial wall. We found today more of 58 houses. They use the stone for the foundation and then after the limestone, and they use the mud bricks for the wall. And there was actually a roof from mud bricks again for that. Small roof is not big anyway, together. So they were the guards for the village. This one, the oldest one in the world. So where the only people that live there, the workers, be close from there. So at the time, the Egyptians, to keep the secret, where are the tombs? Because they found the tombs before Stalin. There's an old kingdom and there's a middle kingdom when they built the pyramids. Here in Luxor, after it became the capital, here, there's a new kingdom, 15th century BC, they stopped to build the pyramids. They found the mountain there, give the shape of the Luxor pyramid, and dig the tombs into the mountain over there. And then they make up the workers from this side to live on the other side. But you have to live there and die there. You're not allowed to come back again here to see his big family. They live there with a small family, with the wife and the children. But the big family live here and not allowed to see each other again. To keep the secret, where are the tombs? It was very interesting at the time to keep the secret, where are the tombs at the time. So even that actually, the father, the grandfather over there, and the overage people, they live there in their houses together, but never work. After 60 years old, never works. And the government, they cover them, and they give them the food, and they give the medicine, and the treatments, everything for them, together.
That's really interesting. So
you know that? I'm sorry, just a minute. So actually, the first strike happened in the world, they happened there inside the village, by the king Ramses III. The workers, because the king, he never gave the foods, stopped for 3 months. And then the workers stopped to work. And then, there's the first strike happened that. And then the king gave them back the food and then start to work again for that. We found some small stones called ostraka. This ostraka, actually they cover their daily life. And then every day when the worker to come to work, you have to sign his name for that to come to work. And if you not come before, you have to say why he worked before. If he absent for 2 days or 3 days, you have to say why, because he never came before. So the men only work there. So the women stay in homes, care with their husband, care with the children together, with their parents, because their parents, they live together over there. And then, so they work for, because the week is 10 days, they work for 8 days and spend other 2 days off. With the 2 days off, they're going to bring their stuff from the market. There's a market there close to their village, and they work in their tombs over there, and they copied the carvings from the royal tombs in their own tombs. This is hidden. The king, they didn't know that. The royal tombs have the holy book carved in there only for the royal tomb, king or queens. But the workers at the time, they copied that in their mind, and they carved there in their tombs after that. Do the 2 days off in a week.
Very interesting.
That's right.
One very interesting thing that keeps reoccurring in the themes of Egypt, like the entire ancient religion that they had here, and the effort that they put into it, is all directed towards their experience of death. So many of the temples are essentially, from what I understand, they're designed for the pharaoh or perhaps even the high priestess to go through there in the afterlife and to remember and to experience the symbols. Like they even, I think at the Tomb of the Nobles in Aswan, across the river where where a lot of the people were. So they essentially had fake doors by where the mummies would be buried, because the symbolism of this door, which was essentially just carved into rock, would then guide the spirit into the afterlife and into the heavens. Right. Can you maybe just tell us a little bit more about that aspect of it?
This one is called false door.
False door.
Yeah, there's a false door to make connection with the soul. This one actually make connection to the heaven, between the mummy of the men there, nobles or royals or anyone's like that, to the heaven over there. So at the time, so for tombs actually, usually that actually, so but we never found here in tombs. Only the false door is at the nobles' tombs. Mm-hmm. The royal tombs not, because the king anyways is connected to the heaven over there.
Yeah,
over there. So but the nobles, because this one tradition, there's an old kingdom, there's a middle kingdom. To dig in the false door, it's not connecting that. It's for the soul and the spirit of the deceased men there to connect to the heaven over there. So even that in Aswan, like you said there, so there's a false door there to make connection there, and so to keep the offerings, and they have to the soul to go into the heaven and they come back always in the day. Daytime, stay in tomb, nighttime to the heaven to over there for that. So they have to make the false door, have to keep the offerings there, because the king or the people, they enjoy the offering in second life. Even that actually the carving in temple, because the kings or the people, so especially the kings, they use this carving and the evidence about he built temples, he made offerings, and they use this offering scenes in the second life for him, for that. He gave the offering during his life, and then the God gave him back the offerings during the second life.
I see.
For that.
Very, very interesting.
That's right.
Mahmoud, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing the interview, and and thank you for doing the excellent tour guide. Very, very informative. I found the whole thing very educational. Just as we wrap this up, is there any way people can contact you for any tour guides or any questions or anything like that?
So contact, you have a mail address.
Sure.
So I give that to him, and then you can anytime to come to here to contact with me. I'm very happy to see everybody's come from everywhere in the world to come to visit Luxor and to visit Egypt. Please to come. Egypt is safe. Luxor is safe. We have a lot of stuff. Every day we have new excavation. So please come to see everything for that.
Absolutely. Shukran jazilan, ya
You're
Basha.
welcome. Basha. Afwan.
Basha.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that conducts the report for the Egypt trip for you. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, any thoughts in the comments, they're open, and I'm an advocate for free speech, so feel free to exercise that muscle if you will. And let me know your thoughts, and if you like what I had to share here, feel free to share it around with people. I'm not as interested in that side of things, but of course, if you find value in what the channel has to offer, then feel free to stick around or perhaps go and visit some of the other conversations that we've been having. Thank you for your support, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. So I'm going to start talking. I'm going to say that we're here with River Nile behind us, and so I'm just going to ask you to quickly introduce yourself. Okay.
So my name is Mahmoud. So I'm a Egyptologist, archaeologist, and I'm a guide. So I'm graduated from Cairo University for Egyptology.
Sorry, before you fully go ahead, I'll just build it up. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing, okay?
Okay.
So we'll cut that properly in a second, all right?
Okay.
So, right.
So Mahmoud, a guide, Egyptologist.
I will ask you, okay? I'm just going to say where we are, what we're doing, and then I will pass the ball to you.
Okay.
And then I will say, hello, sir, if you'd like to introduce. Okay, so, right. I'm going to start talking now, okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at Luxor in Egypt, and we've got the magnificent River Nile right behind us. This is where it all happened, and I'm here with the great gentleman who was our tour guide for the entire trip that we were here. If you'd like to come a little bit closer, and sir, if you don't mind, just introducing yourself, please.
Okay, it was a pleasure.
Okay. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Cheyenne from Motherfuckers.
It's gonna be like that.